So what we are going to do is remind everybody, one, we are sponsored by Better, BETR. They are the presenting sponsor. Use the promo code Stochastic and the number one, that is Stochastic and the number one, and you will get up to a $500 deposit match. No links anymore on that site. Got to use the promo code. If you don't use our promo code, it's only like a $250 deposit match. Who wants that? I'd rather get the full 500. Plus, it gives us a little nod and a hat tip there on the back end, which continues to allow us to bring you free content on multiple platforms, which sometimes work. All right, Matt, handing it back to you. No weather, all the games starting at once. We have all the lineups for the 4 o'clock games. Take it from the top, good sir. Now I can't hear you.
Oh, that was my bad. Sorry. That was me. Now you can't. I wasn't just messing with you. That was my fault.
What was the bad news bears today?
Audio use.
Yeah. So as far as the pitching options go today, top, bottom, everywhere in between, it starts and ends with Chris Sale for me. He's been phenomenal this season. One of, if not the best pitcher in baseball so far this season. Who knows how long he'll stay healthy, but his stuff has never been a question. He just looks the part right now. Really good matchup at home against Oakland. It's MLB, anything can happen, but I think he looks like the clear SP1 on the slate. I don't even think there's anyone really close. How about you?
No, and he it's almost not even fair to talk about him because he is at $66 on Yahoo. That is the first time I can remember in the last 5 years that someone has gotten up to 66. Like 64, 65, those were the the marks where we would see the Max Scherzers, the Apex, Jake DeGroms, Clayton Kershaws, etc. get there, and he's there now, and he's absolutely worth it. So this is one of those where there's going to be some decision points, which is rather nice on this. But the key thing to remember here with Sale is he is just literally at the apex of his powers. Now he's in his age 35 season here. He's putting up his best number since 2018. In 5 May starts, 32 innings, he had 2 earned runs and 2 walks with 45 strikeouts. That is like playing MLB The Show. It's that, just those kind of stat lines there. So we'll talk about, now we're going to talk about some, the secondary options are actually not bad on this early slate, but he is in a category by himself today. Oh, and by the way, he's playing the Oakland Athletics, which it just makes it all better when we come down to that. So that's the easy one. Can we do a few gymnastics, find a couple cheapies to get him into our main lineups? Absolutely. Do we want to be over the field? We'll have to see. We'll talk through this and see where we land. But yes, I concur. He is by far our number one pitching option today. Then we have a list here of I don't even want to say also rans, but there's a whole tier. We've got Kyle Bradish, you've got Garrett Crochet, you have Framber Valdez and Joe Ryan facing off in Houston. Garrett Crochet is in the mix here. He's in Milwaukee. If you are looking for a cheapie, maybe you turn to Robert Gasser on the other side there. And then you have one of our other mythical people, Ben Lively. He is not quite in the same category as Eric Fedde, as far as reinventing himself abroad, but he is coming close, and he's definitely not using the voodoo magic that Williams is. But we do have Ben Lively, and he gets to take on the Nationals. So a lot of choices here. Where do you start to see the dust settle for you?
Man, the second best pitcher on this slate. First off, as far as like pitcher goes, there's some good options here after Sale. Bradish, Crochet, Joe Ryan, I think, Crochet right now might be the second best pitcher on the slate, but I don't love the matchup there. It's got to be Kyle Bradish. His underlyings are even better than his actual numbers. Good spot at home against the Tampa team that strikes out a lot. Bradish looks very, very good at 8,800. The ownership's already there, but it's also there on Crochet. It's not there on Ryan, but Ryan's priced up in a really, really tough spot, so I get that. Lively looks really good in the tools, I'm not really buying it, and I hate picking on this Washington team, but he's not getting a lot of love, so that makes him interesting. But ultimately, I think Bradish is the best option there.
All right. I'm leaning towards Crochet here. So he and Sale were the two guys I featured in my article today. So key things here for Crochet, he's not a rookie. And injuries knocked him out 2 seasons ago. So over 3 healthy seasons, he only had 73 innings, I think all as a reliever before coming in this year. So while he's not a rookie, he's still just 25. But anyway, he leads the league right now with a 12 strikeout per 9 innings rate. He does have 12 starts. He has 6 quality starts in those 12 appearances, 3.7 ERA, 0.93 whip. Those are all pretty good. Now, the knock against it is, of course, Milwaukee does a pretty good job of limiting strikeouts. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have some. They just, as a team, they do a pretty good job of limiting them. The bottom of their order does not, however, with Blake Perkins, Jackson Churio, and Bryce Terang. So those guys are candidates to be a 3-up, 3-down lineup, part of the lineup here. So that is helpful. You have Gary Sanchez, who is, I guess, resurgent is the word we'll use on this one, Matt. But the interesting thing about that is, if we remember, he went over to Minnesota back in barely ago in 2022 as part of that Josh Donaldson deal. Since then, he has played for the Giants, Mets, Padres, and now the Brewers. There's a reason he's bouncing around. He has not been consistent. He darn near washed completely out of the league a couple times here, but he is back and for the moment hitting well. But if you're kind of counting on him, that makes for a weaker lineup here. So it's not fraught with peril. It's not an easy matchup, but there are paths where we could see Crochet, if he gets the right people out, he should have a decent game. So that was sort of my path to goodness for him. I had to dig a little bit, though.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the case for Crochet is just he's been amazing. Like, aside from that, now the Brewers haven't faced a ton of lefties this year. They just destroyed Imanaga. But other than that, they weren't great in the small sample size. And Crochet has been like right there with Sale as one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's all the case I need.
All right, now let's dig a little deeper here. So you're liking Bradish here. Tampa Bay is scuffling here and there. I actually took the under on his strikeouts. I did not like the number at Hard Rock, but I did take under 6 on Prize Picks, which is now back in Florida, which is nice. So that is something I was looking at there. Between the weather and Tampa Bay maybe getting to him, I think that's a way to take advantage of him. But he's still one of our top 6 pitchers on this slate and very, very DFS viable. But I wanted to kind of call that out. How do you feel about him and Taj Bradley? Bradley gets a tough matchup. If this was in Tropicana Field, I'm guessing you might have a slightly different answer, but it is in Camden Yards. It's a little warm up there in the DC metro area today. But how are you feeling about these guys going against their respective squads?
Not great. Not great. I like Bradley as an arm, and he's one of my season-long leagues is set weekly, and he was a 2-star pitcher this week, so unfortunately he's on the hill for me today. But man, I don't feel good about it. Orioles is just a dreadful matchup for any pitcher, especially a righty. We saw it last weekend or a couple weekends ago against Seattle with all their good arms. They destroyed all of them. Bradley's not for me here.
All right, that makes sense. Shout out to Boss Bro. I see him in chat here. I have not seen him in a hot minute. He has been almost an OG, if you will. I just dropped the link into chat there for the free DFS Spotlight Pitchers and Top Stacks article. Also have the wager of the day in there. So it talks a little bit about Odd Shopper. We'll mention them in a moment here, but let's continue looking at our pitchers. So let me get back to the top pitchers tool. So Framber Valdez, not the best matchup against Minnesota. Joe Ryan, same thing going the other direction, but they are probably the next most talented and established pitchers here after Sale. Their prices are not that far off Crochet. One's a little higher, one's a little lower. It's appropriate. So I think they're okay where they are. Sean Manaea is where we start to get into some of the savings here. 6,500 on DraftKings. He has a 10% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He is the highest percentage, 20% chance of being the best value play of the day. How are you feeling about Manaea here against the struggling Arizona Diamondbacks? And it feels like not only everybody in the World Series last year, Diamondbacks in Texas, both those offenses are struggling this year.
I don't like Manaea at all here personally. I like
Okay.
Arizona against him. I especially when he's getting ownership. His underlying numbers aren't very good. And Arizona is much, much better against left-handed pitching. So I like the Arizona side much more than the Manaea side. I'll actually go a step further and say I like Slade Ciccone a lot more than Manaea today, personally. I'm doing it. I just did it.
Touching the third rail. Oh boy. Well, we'll get to him in top stacks, but so no Manaea for you. I'm okay with the price point. I agree with you. The underlying metrics are a little bit dodgy, but the salary sort of offsets it. I even to look to his over on some of the pick'em sites. You can probably find that on Better as well. But if you can get like the over on his fantasy points, I think that's an okay approach. I wouldn't go too heavy on it, but as you're building out those 5-pick cards, you want to start looking at, you're not going to find everything that looks fine and dandy for you. But I think that's one I would definitely consider under that situation. But I'm going to end up with about 20% Manaea, it looks like, if my early sims hold for me. So we'll see, but we know the sims can change up. I'm going to run them one more time here before we get there. Okay, so you don't like Manaea. Anybody else that pops up there for you?
I like Ciccone. I'm not even kidding.
All right, we're ripping the Band-Aid off. Let's jump over to him now. So you clearly don't mind that he has had 6 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. He actually, he came up as a prospect. Here, where's my notes here? So let's see. He's going to be 25 years old in a couple of weeks. He looked pretty good in AAA, but his strikeouts have evaporated each time he has come into the show. Now, he doesn't project for an overabundance of strikeouts, so clearly what he was doing in the minor leagues is not going to carry over, and the projection systems don't think so either. But he does have a good fastball, and he's got, I think it's I can't remember if it's a splitter or a slider as his secondary pitch that are okay. He doesn't have a lot of breaking ball stuff, which could be a challenge. And what he's running into is the buzzsaw, also known as major league pitch or hitting. So it's his fastball. Everybody's got a good fastball once you're in the majors, right? So it's not setting him apart enough. But he is someone that definitely looks like a 2-inning type reliever. But everybody's going to get a shot to be in the starting rotation because it's so hard to find starters here. I recommended stacking against him because I'm a chalk donkey. So what is your take here? Where are the positives for you?
I mean, he's got a few positives. So you're right. Like, if you're asking me, do I mind about all the stuff you asked? Yeah, it's not great, but that's why he's not getting any ownership. He's like the opposite of Manaea, except even more of an extreme. His 6.12 ERA is awful. His 3.43 expected ERA is not awful. His 297 expected WOBA, his underlying numbers are like pretty good. Not even just better than his real life numbers. They're good. Again, not a great strikeout pitcher, and the Mets don't strike out a lot. So he could get BABIP to death like he's been getting. Wouldn't be shocked if that happens again. But he's getting no ownership, and I think he's as good of an option or better than everyone else in this price range, except maybe Reese Olson. For me personally, like, I get Manaea. Manaea's too cheap, but give me the 1% owned Ciccone over the 15 to 20% owned Manaea personally. Yeah, again, might not work out today, but I think this is a decent spot for him.
I have I have watched too many of your shows to discount your approach, good sir. And clearly, he is no Randy Vasquez or Aaron Brooks. So that will be a fun one. Who I love this question. Who you got across all the sports? Aaron Brooks or Tyler Johnson?
Oh, that's a good one. Man, it's got to be
Aaron Brooks, the quarterback, Aaron Brooks, the point guard, Aaron Brooks, the pitcher. Tyler Johnson, I believe Tyler Johnson's in the NHL. There must have been an NFL player by that name, and then we know he was a basketball player.
I mean, the heavy favorite in that has got to be Aaron Brooks, especially because one of the Tyler Johnsons in the NHL. But yeah, give me the Brookses all day in there.
Let's see here. That was neither here nor there. The games we have seemingly skipped over would be Cooper Criswell going against Reese Olson. You did mention Olson, and then Michael Lorenzen going against Ryan Weathers. They're sort of at the break point there. Texas, maybe the bats are starting to wake up just a little bit here. Weathers pitching well above what we normally see from him. We've got Lorenzen, who is just, meandering along here, eating some innings, but he does get a decent park upgrade going into Miami. Oh, as an aside, it's to file away. The Texas Stadium, you remember in 2020 when it opened up and they had the roof closed almost the whole time and it ended up being more of a pitching park? It hasn't been a pitching park since then, roof open or roof closed. It's been actually an offensive park. And I looked at Fangraphs and I looked at one other site's Park Factors, and it surprised the heck out of me that it was positive, because I had been thinking it was always better to have the roof closed there, but apparently it doesn't make that much of a difference. Or they tweak the balls, or they've adjusted the humidor, because baseball doesn't like to tell us what they do. But that was just something that I was researching last week and it caught me off guard. So I thought we could file that one away. But we're in Miami today. Any of those guys positives or negatives here? Chad is asking about Criswell
or the Miami guys?
Sorry.
Or all of them.
Kind of all of them.
Yeah, for me, it's Reese Olson. I just think he's mispriced here. Don't love the ballpark. The matchup, I don't love, but Boston's lineup is very watered down right now. So I don't even hate the matchup. He's just not a $6,300 pitcher. So give me Olson there. You can make a case for Weathers. He's in good form right now. I've been on him a bunch this year, and Texas is not good against left-handed pitching, opposite of Arizona. But man, he's now priced up. Texas, even though they haven't been good against lefties, they still have a ton of power. I think Weathers is a low floor here, and now you're paying for him. Give me Olson at 6,300. I don't have any interest in Criswell personally. I know it's a decent matchup, but I like the Olson side more there. That's basically it, because I like Ciccone, so I don't need to get weird anywhere else.
All right, then let's flip on over to top stacks here for the early slate. One more shout out there to Better, the presenting sponsor of the show. You guys can get over there. It's BETR. You use the promo code Stochastic and the number 1, and you'll get up to a $500 deposit match. They are a pick'em sites covering a wide range of sports, from the NBA to the MLB to the NHL and more. They've got a whole bunch more, which is good because NHL and MLB are heading towards the finals here. So it's a lot of fun. You don't have to go against other players. You get to go against Better. You are picking against the props that they put out there for player lines in a variety of categories. You can build out up to 8 player cards players on your card, and that will get you a 100x payout. You can also look for some of their leveraged plays, both higher than their higher numbers and lower than their lower numbers, and you can get close to that on about 6 picks depending on how aggressive you are. But 100 times payout is pretty good. It's like winning a GPP, if you will. But that is Better. Promo code Stochastic and the number 1. All right. Would it be a shock to learn that Randy Vasquez, Alec Marsh, and Aaron Brooks are the 3 pitchers we should be stacking against today, with Cooper Criswell in there? The Motor City Kitty's getting a little love today. Matt. How are you feeling up at the top here? Are you leaning towards the Royals? Are you thinking about the Pod Squad? What way are you going?
I don't really get why the Padres are so high up. Like Alec Marsh isn't great, and I do think his numbers call for some regression, but he's definitely better than Randy Vasquez and Aaron Brooks. For me, man, I haven't played them basically. Well, I've played a little bit of them this year, but not at all recently. They're not getting love again. And Aaron Brooks is one of these guys, just like Jose Urena was last night. I'll stack against them till the day I die. So Atlanta's my favorite stack on the board.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Where would you be looking for savings? Have you built out your 2 to 4 lineups here? Can you do Sale and some of the Atlanta bats?
It's very difficult. So if you want to stack 1 through 5 in Atlanta, you basically can't use Sale. And that sucks. So I could see not playing Sale to do that. I might play one line like that, like in the only lineup I don't play Sale. But yeah, you probably have to get a little bit different with the stack and exclude 1 or 2 of the top guys and get in like a Kelenic or a Duvall or a d'Arnaud. I don't mind those guys either, though. And Atlanta's a team I'm not really wanting or willing to play as chalk right now because they haven't been good. But in what my opinion is the best spot on the slate at low under ownership, I'll override that they haven't been good and just, play them here. So they are tough to get to, which I think is playing into their low ownership.
Right. Shout out to Flex here. He says his day is complete. He was just waiting to hear about the Motor City Kitties. See, I try to throw that in there because Matt is one of the people that appreciates that the most, and he likes to incorporate it into some of his work now. So that we're trying to make this a phrase that is more popular within DFS. But if you hear people saying it, you guys know where it came from. You know where it came from. I mentioned my top stack is going to be for the late slate, it's going to be San Francisco, but we're not on the late slate yet here. I still like the Mets here. I want to see what lineup ended up popping out. I think it was everybody as expected here. Yeah, so it's going to be Lindor, Alonso, and Nimmo. Those are going to be your key guys that you want to go to. I was hoping McNeil might get a little bit higher in the lineup. He's batting 7th. That's not the worst, but he's a little bit farther away from JD Martinez. Not quite deep enough down to get into a full wraparound stack, but I think he's still okay as part of that, especially on DraftKings, where that $3,000 price tag does make him rather helpful in working in the Chris Sales of the world. So I think he is interesting.
I got one more thing to say about Ciccone. I forgot to mention it.
It's at his birthday?
So, no, it's nothing like that. I'm not playing him because of this, but it certainly doesn't hurt. He was sent down recently, like last week.
Yep.
He made 1 start in the minors against the Dodgers AAA team with James Outman, et cetera, in there. Went 7 innings, 7 hits, no walks, 9 Ks. So feeling good about himself, if nothing else. Again, doesn't mean much coming into today, but certainly not a reason I'm not playing him,
No, and I those are the ones that I think it's important to call out because like Sessione, if he has a bad game, okay, well, we all knew it. If he has a good game, it's like, oh, you were so lucky. No, he's actually a good prospect. He's just this is the adjustment period. As I mentioned, if you go look at his minor league strikeouts, it's double digits per 9. So projection systems, I think, have him for around 7.5 to 8. So he's not going to be a real strikeout guy per se, but he's got a good fastball. And he's just got to develop some other pitches so these major league hitters aren't sitting on it. Similarly to how I kind of like Roche, the algorithms or the projections are starting to get people there. They weren't as much this morning, but he's got a high salary. He's going against a similar 4+ implied run total here, like Sassoni here. But if we go with Slade, you get 2, maybe 3 upgrades at your bats, right? So you have to look at this with the full picture. So just because you're like, oh, this guy sucks. Yeah, if you're building one lineup, yes, or two lineups or five, maybe you stay away from him. But there are reasons to go to these folks. And similar to the old saying, and I heard they tweaked it a little bit. The announcer I heard say it last night. He's like, you're going to win 50 of your games. You're going to lose 50 of your games no matter what. It's what you do with the other 62. The old phrase from like the way back in the days, you're going to win a third of your games. You're going to lose a third of your games. It's what do you do with the other third? It's like that with pitchers. 10 starts, you're dialed in. The ball is going exactly where you want it to go. No questions asked. Amazing. 10 starts, you're not really going to have it. What do you do with it? How do you overcome that? And then 10 starts are just going to be dog shit because unless you're one of the top 10 pitchers in the league, and that's what happens when you go against Major League hitting. But it's what do you do with those middle ones? How do you elevate your game to be a difference maker here? And that's we can see that on a game-to-game basis with these folks here. All righty, that was a fun little side tangent, and I just clicked on the wrong page. So let's get back to our main page here. All right, moving down the stack list, we cherry picked some of the better ones. What do you like here for some potential differentiation stacks? And it's not like we have to go too crazy. Nobody was double digits owned with the whatever 16 teams that are in play here, or probably 18 teams that are in play.
Yeah. Bunch of teams that look similar, to be honest. So the highest top stack on the board is the Royals at 9.4. The lowest outside of Oakland is the White Sox at 3.3. So everyone else is in between there. And I think you can make cases for basically every team on this slate. For me, I am drawn towards Arizona and a lefty who's performing a little bit over his head. Again, this lineup's much better against left-handed pitching, so I like Arizona. I also like Baltimore. I think Bradley has great stuff, but this is a guy that is really good for DFS purposes because of his strikeout upside, but still hasn't seemed to put it all together yet. His expected ERA is much higher than his actual ERA, and Baltimore hits good pitching. So I like pieces of Baltimore, if nothing else. Arizona. I think Detroit looks pretty good. I don't think much of Criswell. And again, a lot of these teams look so similar. It's hard to like really say that one looks that much better than the other,
Yeah. CJ Abrams scratched for the Nationals. So I guess that is a little nod there for Blake Lively. 3.8 implied run.
Ben Lively, but yeah.
Team. Or Ben, God, I'm going to just do that every time. Ryan Reynolds' wife. Good times. Mitchell Parker. I took the under on 4.5 strikeouts. That one I took at the sportsbook here. The sportsbook here in I almost said in Miami, in Florida, because Hard Rock is my only game in town, but under 4.5 I think was decent. I saw it slide on some of the pick'em sites from 4.5 to 4, so I'm guessing people were taking the under as well, which means we need to talk about your Cleveland Guardians, because if the strikeout number keeps going down, that means good things for the Guardians. What are you liking here, and how is David Fry? Is it Fry? Yeah, it's Fry that's the greatest hitter in the world now against lefties.
Yeah, I respect Parker. I think both him and the Guardians are intriguing tournament plays here because neither side's getting love. Parker's getting 6% ownership. The Guardians are getting 3%, both coming a little bit under owned. We actually have the Guardians as one of the highest leverage stacks on the board. They're expensive. They're still priced like they're in cores. JRAM is 6,500. Gets cheaper after that, but still, that's a tough pill to swallow. Not in cores.
After how many years does DraftKings keep doing this? Where they miss the first day of Coors, but then after the teams leave, they're still priced like they're in Coors.
Yeah, so like JRAM's always in play. I don't mind him here. But Naylor's 5,600 against the lefty. Jimenez is expensive. Freeman looks pretty good leading off at like 4,200, but I don't know. If I had to pick a side on this slate, it would actually be the Parker side because I like bats more than I like pitching.
All right. David Fry in his last 31 righty-lefty matchups, a 635 WOBA, and a 565 isolated power. I didn't know that was even legal. Is that street legal, son? I don't think so. Those are some serious numbers. I mean, Ramirez is at 500 and 387. So those guys are locked in right now. That's their last 30 days on the season. They're still both pretty elite, but those are some crazy numbers. Anything else from the slate? Because we have one more we're going to cover here.
I don't think so.
Perhaps
again,
a home run or two.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be run scored on this slate, so brace yourselves.
All right, who do you have for your high end home run? You can pick a spendy guy.
Gunnar Henderson's going to lead off the game for Baltimore with a homer off Taj Bradley.
Okay. I'm going to go with Rafael Devers, batting cleanup against Reese Olson. I still don't think I agree with you. I think Olson is underpriced, but I like Devers there. Sort of my, I guess, is it a stretch home run to go for Brandon Nimmo against your guy Slade? I think that's fair for a mediocre play.
Yeah, totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Who's your?
I'm going with the same game for my first one on the other side in the 2-hole. Give me Brandon Lau. He's going yard today.
Okay, my dynasty team hopes so. Trying to work a trade there. That is the Tino. There is no offseason dynasty league I'm in with Team McBee there. 9 pages of rules, four separate drafts, 6 categories of contracts. It's a complex league, to say the least. I want to remind everybody we do have Odd Shopper. I kind of mentioned that you can look at any of my articles, either the Spotlight Pitchers and Top Stacks article or the DFS Building Blocks article for NBA. I break down one free wager every day there that I get directly off of Odd Shopper. It is the market-based betting approach. What that means is it uses all of the books against each other, so it allows us quickly to see who has a mispriced line or a stale line. The books are getting quicker at moving them when money starts coming in, so you can look multiple times throughout the day, and if you are belong to several books, you can jump in and take the most advantageous price. It also shows you where I'm stuck here in Florida, not a bad place to be stuck, but with only the Hard Rock Casino as my wagering choice, I can find bets that I like, but then if it's a crappy number, I know to stay away from, because there are better numbers out there. I can't get to them, but that sometimes means you got to keep the powder dry. That's important. So $14.95 per week, $49.95 per month for Odd Shopper. That gets you all of the expert picks. It gets you the market-based approach. There's a whole bunch of other tools on there. And oh, by the way, this supports all of the pickup sites. So you can get your better picks over there and some of those other pickup sites as well. So it's a pretty good deal. It cuts through all of the scrolling and flipping of pages and trying to chase this stuff down yourself. But check out Odd Shopper. Well worth it. Try it out for a week. If the worst case scenario, and well, you don't get to eat lunch out for a day, you're going to have a PB&J sandwich. That's not a bad price to pay. PB&J, raspberry is my favorite, by the way. What is the J that you like for PB&J?
Wait, what?
What do you like for peanut butter and jelly? What's your favorite jelly or jam?
Oh, man, I'm a big jelly fan. Who's not? Give me the good old-fashioned strawberry if I'm having a PB&J.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mind apricot or peach.
I mean,
in a pinch. What is your daughter like? Is she in the PB&J phase as a little
man,
kid?
she's a very good eater, so she don't mind anything. She just turned 2, and we were having a homemade shrimp and orzo dish last night, and she was asking for more shrimp and more orzo. So she's got a sophisticated
I was
palate.
gonna say, well, she's moved well beyond the PB&J phase.
Yeah, she's doing her thing at 2. I mean, she's got a sophisticated palate, like I said. So she eats better than me. Let's just put it that way.
All right. I see you adding in grape jelly. No, it's not a bad one. Not a bad one. Some would say underrated.
Yeah, I definitely like grape too. Between strawberry and grape for me.
Right.
Underrated. I will say blueberry jam preserves, highly underrated.
Okay, if you got the blueberry, I gotta say the blackberry. We used to homemade blackberry jam. That's not bad. We had blackberry bushes outside where I was growing up in the orchards as a kid. So
They
Yes.
Yeah.
Cherry. I don't think I've ever had cherry jam. Interesting. All right. So let's move
EMac,
on.
were you around for the invention of blackberries?
No, actually, that little before my time. I think that what happened on the fourth day, and I didn't show up till well after the fourth day.
Okay,
So-
I was wondering.
All right. Moving on to our evening slate here. We've got 5 games starting at 7:15. Again, I mentioned earlier, the only real weather issue is in Chicago. It does look like they can wait for a while and get in the game. So that seems to be how the coverage is playing out now. That's still about 4 hours away. So you'll have to keep tabs on that. But we do have Justin Steele and Hunter Green going in that one. So some pitching options. Our biggest and everybody's favorite pitcher today is going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto here. He has been phenomenal, to say the least. A 1.98 walks per 9 innings, striking out 10.5 per 9. He's a 46% ground ball rate. His 3.35 ERA, well, that's higher than his 3.41 expected ERA and his 2.83 FIP. And if we take out that crappy 1 inning, 5 earned runs in the Soul Series, which was his first appearance in the show, was in that Soul Series, he has a 2.8 ERA, a 2.8 FIP, and a 217, 256, 358 slash line for opposing hitters. Pretty elite, but we're paying for it. There are some ways to get a little bit different. I'm assuming you will easily co-sign on Yamamoto here, but who's another pitcher to go to with the other 9?
Oh man, I'll definitely co-sign on Yamamoto, and I don't think we're lacking for other options at all here. I think Ranger Suarez looks really, really good. You look at his last start in Colorado, I believe, against the Rockies. He got roughed up, especially at the beginning. Still finished like 20 fantasy points. I think he looks very, very good here. Expensive, so you probably can't. Well, you definitely can't use Yamamoto and Ranger Suarez and stack the Dodgers, but I think those two are the highest scoring pitchers on the slate. Sonny Gray is right there with those guys, but the matchup is so much worse for Sonny Gray. Blow up potential anytime you face Philly. We've seen it with Dylan Cease, numerous elite starting pitchers. Philly is very, very good offensively, so probably not on Gray. But I don't think he's a bad play, especially at a discount from the other two. Weather concerns in the Cubs game, so we'll have to see there. If that game holds, I think both pitchers are wildly in play if you're looking for cheaper than Ranger Suarez. Bryce Miller at home, I think he's a very good option against the Angels. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of ways to go. I don't really like any of the cheap options. So, I think you could potentially play like a Miller and Steele combo or a Miller and Green. So you can get to the Dodgers stack or whatever. But I do think Yamamoto is the top option. For me, Ranger Suarez is pretty clearly the second best option. He's expensive, but he's not getting ownership. And then all those other guys look similar to me. I'll give Bryce Miller the lean right now. All these Seattle guys are better at home.
All right. I'm okay with that. I huge Ranger Suarez fan. He was a guy that you could always stream. This year, nope. He about his third start was no longer available on waivers, and he has continued that momentum. So he's a solid option here. Logan Webb. I don't know that I want to tangle with the Yankees, but I don't want to pick on him. I agree with you for Bryce Miller. He looks to be the 3rd or 4th most popular here. Reed Detmers. What are you thinking about Reed Detmers here? Was it just a bad luck situation here? Was he in a funk, harboring an injury? But he's been pretty bad for about a month and a half.
Yeah, he's been shitty. He's another guy. His underlyings are better than his actual numbers. So I think that you have to take his 5.76 ERA with a grain of salt, considering his expected is 3.56. That said,
but what if we look at just his May ERA in 5
Yeah.
starts? It's 9.49 for his
Right.
ERA.
I know if you take out those first 3 starts where he was like the best pitcher in baseball, it's gone downhill quickly. Seattle strikes out a lot. We know that, but I don't like Detmers here, especially at ownership. Like, I get it because the Dodgers are very expensive, and so are Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So to get to those guys, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere. For me, it wouldn't be getting to an owned Reed Detmers just because I like so many other pitchers better. But man, like, he's very, very cheap. And I'm talking about playing like Saccone and Olsen on the early slate. He's like those guys, except for he's more volatile in my mind. Like, I think he's live for 25 plus here, but he's also live for -5. So I get it because of his price tag. It's just not someone I'm really interested in getting to.
Yeah, 30 strikeouts even with that 9.49 ERA, 30 strikeouts in 24 innings last month. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Flipping it over to the stacks here. Let's see who I wrote up. That was hours ago, and I don't. Oh, I had 2 here. So Dodgers, obviously, they're going against Cal Quantrill, Dakota Hudson, and a pair of retread relievers held the Dodgers to just 1 run last night. So that is not exactly good. Quantrill has actually been outstanding this year. In May, he allowed just 6 earned runs in 5 starts. 3 of those were on the road. But that's, so away from Coors, but still good. He's had tremendous strikeouts over the last month. Now, that's the reason we want to go against him, because his career strikeouts, no, that's not part of his game. 6.75 per 9. And then his ground ball rate is up to almost 50% this year. Over his last 2 seasons, he was closer to 40%. Now, the only thing different this year is he's throwing a split finger fastball around 1/3 of the time. That's at 86.4 miles per hour. He's backed off a little bit from his fastball, and I think he went away from his slider, I think was the other one he went away from. And it's presenting a nice dichotomy at 86.4 compared to his fastball of 93.5, but it's only a matter of time before hitters start to catch on to that wrinkle. They know it's there. It's just preparing for it. Not a lot of either. They don't have a lot of tape on him because he really only started throwing that pitch this year. The Dodgers have just 30 runs in their last 9 games, but they had 10 on Wednesday in New York against the Mets, and they're only 14 behind the Phillies for the league lead. So that Dodgers are my favorite. Thankfully, DraftKings and Yahoo is making you pay through the nose, particularly on DraftKings for them. So that makes it a nice little challenge. And then on the other side, or on the West Coast, shall I say, I also like San Francisco Giants. So they are taking on Cody Poteet, who is really only in the lineup because of Clark Schmidt and Garrett Cole being hurt. Poteet, let's see. He missed most of the 2022 season and the 2023 season. So in August of 2022, he had Tommy John surgery. He's going to be 30 years old here shortly. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 2015 draft. That was after 3 years at UCLA. So again, we've got the Crash Davis of pitchers here. He has, after 11 seasons, still just only 64.2 innings. In the big leagues. He's on a 1-year, $750,000 deal. So he is cannon fodder. He's literally a stopgap pitcher at this point. But I think looking at Yaz, Thairo Estrada, Matt Chapman, maybe Pat Bailey, Jorge Soler, some would call him George. Those would be the guys I'd look to against Poteet. But that was sort of my way of not picking the Mariners or not picking the other popular team, which was where did they go? The Yankees. I thought the Yankees were too popular. So yet I already recommended the most popular stack in the Dodgers, but I'm countering that. I'm countering that by going well down the list with the Giants there. Anything else you want to call out for the offense on this slate?
Ownership's pretty spread out. At least we're projecting it as such. If I were playing one lineup right now, I like that Giants call. I don't think Poteet is good. I hate the ballpark, but it's a smaller slate. So not as bad tonight. Like, there is no reason that St. Louis should be getting as much ownership as San Fran. So I'm with that. And then the other two, I disagree with you that the Yankees are getting too much ownership. I don't think they're getting enough because they're expensive. Logan Webb is good. We have them as the third lowest owned stack team on the board. So them and Philly, again, Sonny Gray's a very good pitcher, and I think he's wildly in play. And this game played 100 times. I think most of the outcomes are that Gray pitch as well here. But when Philly has success, they do so by hitting home runs, and they're always in play, even against good pitchers. So just wanted to shout that out.
All righty. Let's do some home runs here. Then we can have Mike run the lineup generator for the main slate. We'll see what pops up on that. What do you got for home runs here?
On the main slate, let's go with. I am going to go with Kyle Schwarber.
All right. I'm going with Yastrzemski as my guy. Let's see, Mike, if you want to call up the lineup generator here. Let me get over to my notes real quick. So key things about the lineup generator, we run that for the main slates for both FanDuel and DraftKings. So the key things that you want to remember is you get to choose your stack types. You can choose chalky, contrarian, balanced, or all of the above. You also get to choose how those stacks are crafted. DraftKings, you can go 5-3, 5-0, and 4-4. FanDuel, you can go 4-4, 4-3-1, and 4-2-2. You can lock in one pitcher and you can lock in one hitter, and then you can build your lineup. So let's run some here on FanDuel real quick, Mike. So let's do FanDuel. Let's do 4-3-1. And let's do chalky, because I want to show you how not so chalky the chalky really is. And let's skip that top part and let's crunch some lineups here. So you can click them as you like them. If you don't like something, you can hit discard. You build out up to 20 in the holding pen, and you can go look at it. You can go look at things in the holding pen at any time. As you see here, over to the right is your player portfolio. You can see that Chris Sale's on 55% of the teams. You've got Riley Green there on 38%. We got Manny Machado popping up. So if we said to click on Manny Machado, we could go see all the Manny Machado lineups to the left would pop up there. You can open those up, see what's in there. You can change players in or out by using that little arrow button off to the side. You'll need to do a little mental math yourself, but it's not that hard. So we know we've used 35,000. We have 3,000 left. You can bring in somebody for 3,000 there and swap them out. This is a good way to build out, your core lineups. You can kind of get a flavor, get an understanding of what is there. It's also great for tournaments because this is leverage off all the tools that we have at Stochastic. Everything that the Sims are built on. This is kind of like Sims Lite. There's just less inputs for you to maneuver with here, but it's still putting out positive EV lineups, and it's taking into account the boom bust tool, leverage, running this slate tens of thousands of times, etc. So it's a pretty good deal there. You can get in on the cheap, but that is the lineup generator. Final thoughts as we slide on out of here, Matt?
No, I like the early slate more, but I guess what I like more doesn't really matter until it's all over. So I think
I like the one
more.
I'm going to win on.
Yeah, same. But I always like these slates that all start at the same time with no weather delays. Yes. So a bunch of times we've had these slates on Saturday that's like there's one game at 1 and then like 5 games at like 1 game at 1, 1 game at 2, and then like 5 at 4. So it's going to be a long day. But then one of the games at 4 starts at like 7 because of a rain delay. So it's just like, what the hell am I even doing? I hate that.
It can be a challenge. It can be a challenge. All right. But with that, we want to say thank you to producer Mike. We will have, depending on what they do for the main slate tomorrow, we'll either go at 12 or 12:30 for the MLB Live Before Lock. Of course, just know it'll be an hour before the slate starts. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. You can find me at EMac DFS, and of course, it is stochastic_com. With that, gamers, good luck.